Imagine being a small warring country facing problems in rebuilding after going through years of war. A lack of resources, political instability, and deep trauma from constant violence are just a few of the problems you would face. In many cases, these countries can't rebuild their infrastructure, provide basic services to their people, or establish a stable government. This can lead to a cycle of poverty and violence that can last for years or even decades. On the other hand, superpower countries such as the US, China, and Russia spent a mind-blowing amount of money on their military. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, the US spends $778 billion on its military in 2020, while China spent $252 billion and Russia spent $61.7 billion. These countries have the resources to invest in their military in order to dominate the global stage. But this country's history dates back over 1,000 years to when it was a powerful kingdom and its influence spread all across Central Europe. They faced invasions and divisions as nearby emperors tried to conquer their territories. The 20th century brought two devastating world wars, which the nation found itself at the center of. After World War II, the small nation found itself behind the Iron Curtain under the grip of the Soviet Union. The people struggled under communist rule but continued their fight for freedom. And today, the country stands as a thriving nation after overcoming many hardships throughout its history. Hello explorers, I'm Mr.Thinker, and in today's video I will take you on a nation's struggles that gave them a sense of identity and pride in their people, and their story is the reason why the new governments are desperate for military power within Europe. Despite having a long and rich history, the nation has gone through many struggles over the centuries. No one could have predicted that Poland would be on track to become Europe's next military superpower. If all goes as planned, Poland is going to become a force to be reckoned with in Europe very soon. The leaders of its ruling party announced big plans for the country to have the strongest army in Europe within the next couple of years. This focus on boosting the military has become very popular in Poland, especially after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The nation is now trying to be well prepared for any emergency or possibility of war spilling over its borders.
Poland has greatly felt the impact of Russia's invasion. Their defense forces have grown in numbers as well since Russia started invading its neighbor. And when we got here in Warsaw, we spoke with some of the newest Polish recruits about why they're signing up for Poland's version of the National Guard.
The Polish Prime Minister, Mateusz Morawiecki, said he wanted a powerful army in Poland, one so powerful that it could stop conflict just through its strength. The defense minister is also on board and believes it's important to prepare for peace by making the Polish army stronger. But the question is, will this military expansion actually be something that Poland can afford, or is it just an expensive promise to get more support for the Law and Justice Party in the national elections? As of the 2023 military strength ranking, Europe's strongest militaries besides Russia are the UK, France, and Italy. The UK's strength is in its manpower and air power, while France has a large helicopter fleet and several destroyer warships. Italy, on the other hand, has 404 helicopters and 2 aircraft carriers, and in 2023, Poland surprisingly managed to get the 5th spot in this ranking. The country has its eyes set on becoming a global power with its new military and already has a plan in motion. They placed orders for hundreds of American, German, and South Korean vehicles and are increasing their defense spending, which is now more than 3% of its GDP. This move is a huge step forward, but will it be enough? Poland's president, a NATO member since 1999, passed laws that allowed the government to spend more than 3% of its GDP on defense starting in 2023. This surprised everyone and went beyond the alliance's expectations by a full percentage point. On the other hand, Germany recently raised its defense spending and barely met NATO's 2% requirement. Finland is another new member of NATO, and even though they have a huge budget of $6 billion for their military, that's still just 2.3% of their GDP. Deputy Prime Minister Jarosław Kaczyński's vision for Poland is much bigger. He is pushing for the country to increase its military spending to a staggering 5% of its GDP over the next decade. Poland also has plans to buy more military equipment and launch a massive recruitment drive in the years to come. Their goal is to recruit almost 150,000 troops within the next decade so that they can increase the army's size from its current 128,000 active troops and 36,000 territorial defense troops to 300,000 soldiers by 2035. With these new soldiers, Poland will now have 6 armoured divisions, which is now more than the UK, France and Germany. Poland has invested in over 1,000 new tanks and 600 artillery pieces bought from the South Koreans and the US. This new arsenal is going to be bigger and do more than the combined firepower of the UK, France, Germany and Italy. Poland also received 33 new M1 Abrams tanks as a part of a $4.9 billion order of 250. The country is also expecting the delivery of nearly 1,000 K2 Black Panther main battle tanks from South Korea, with the first 10 already shipped to them. Of these, 180 K2 tanks are going to arrive in Poland by 2025 at a cost of 3.16 billion euros. This decade-long contract with South Korea means they'll be producing up to 820 tanks right within Poland. If you thought that wasn't enough, well, Poland also invested 9.2 billion euros in buying 468 HIMARS rocket launchers. These are the same ones that Ukrainian forces used against Russian troops in the conflict. With these orders in place, it's very likely that Poland is going to become Europe's strongest military force. While this could just be an electoral promise, the consequences of not following through could be huge. For economists and experts, there are concerns over the cost of this military expansion because where is all that money going to come from? Training new troops and building a steady recruitment flow would be a logistical and financial nightmare for any country. It will be a demanding task, but Poland's growing economic strength sets it apart from countries like the UK, which will make these expenses easier to manage. But Poland has seen amazing economic growth, not just in Europe, but on a global level. In the past 5 years, it's consistently achieved an annual GDP growth rate of around 4%. How is that possible? First off, they began by transitioning to a capitalist market economy in 1989, and the results of that have been noticeable. Going around Europe, you'll see that Warsaw, Poznan, Krakow, and Wrocław are all wealthier cities than Birmingham, Liverpool, and even Manchester. The quality of life is better, and the cost of living is much lower, not to mention the crime rates, which are at an all-time high in the UK, as well as waiting lines at hospitals. During the pandemic, Poland managed to further save itself from the problems faced by many other European nations. This was because of a combination of good leadership by the government, priority given to the economy, and restrictions on personal freedoms that gave them full economic control. Poland became a place to do business, and countries have since invested heavily in its infrastructure, making it an economical miracle. In 2023, Poland now finds itself in a position to take its place as a dominant military superpower. If Poland manages to secure all the investments it's made in military equipment, there's no shadow of a doubt it'll emerge as the strongest force in Europe. They'll have the strength to defend themselves, as well as the Baltic states, and this means both political and strategic advantages, which could position the country differently within both NATO and Europe. It's likely that Poland will emerge as the primary or secondary continental European power, following in the footsteps of France. This transformation could mean trouble for the UK's role in NATO, meaning that it could lose its status as the second in command, which would be a huge change. The new role for Poland within NATO and Europe may bring countries like the UK and France to reconsider the priority of their ground forces and potentially shift their focus towards the specialities they have left. For the UK, that could mean a revival of its naval power, a heritage that has almost entirely disappeared as it attempted to become an all-rounded military force. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe, like, share, hit the bell icon, and see you in the next video.